Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Canadian Bowler Podcast. I'm Mike Patulli, joined with Daryl Fitzgerald, and today we have a special guest with us, Colleen Piketh. Thanks for joining us, Colleen.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael and Daryl, for having me.
So whenever we start out an interview, we like to essentially give you the floor, introduce yourself, tell us how you relate to bowls. So the floor is yours, Colleen.
Thank you. I'm 49 years old. I used to be a primary school teacher for 18 years, and then I got involved with the lawn bowls, the Henselite brand. I'm the Henselite distributor for Southern Africa. So we import from Australia and then, sell them here. And bowls has been part of my family. Well, I grew up on the bowling green. I didn't want to play. I thought it was boring. I thought it was, I wasn't interested at all until about, I was 21. And my dad was practicing, and I went down to the green with him, and he said, "Don't you want to try it?" And I was like, "Oh, well, what's all the fuss about?" But the minute you pick up that bowl and that you just want to do better, and that bug, I think, bites you immediately. Well, it did for me anyway. So yeah, and 29 years later, and I'm still playing. So.
Well, I know I've been lucky enough to actually see you play in person, just from the sidelines, being a coach for Canada. And I'll just give a quick rundown of some of your achievements. Bronze medalist, 2012 World Bowls Championship in the women's fours. You're a four-time Commonwealth Games medalist. You had a gold in the women's pairs in Glasgow in 2014. Silver in the women's pairs in 2018 on the Gold Coast. And 2 bronze medals in the singles, one in 2014 and the other in 2018. Quite a good record. For being at the Commonwealth Games, I must say. And I know I've always seen you kind of in the mix in the singles, so definitely cool that you're going back. For those of us around the world that don't know what bowls is like in South Africa, have never actually seen it play, how big of a sport is bowls in South Africa?
Look, I think number-wise, throughout the world, it's declining anyway. Except I think in the Far East where the numbers are soaring. But I think in general we're a small community in comparison to, let's say, Australia and so on. But then our country is also a lot smaller than, say, yours even. Although I think yours is also pretty spread out in terms of your distances that you travel. So. Yeah, I think in generally our numbers are declining, but we're still quite a strong competitive nation.
So for people who aren't familiar, I guess, what's the facilities that you guys have? Like, do you have kind of differing green speeds, or is it pretty consistent with similar green speeds across the board, or?
Yeah, so because of the topography of the country, or rather the weather patterns, you've got your coastal belts where the green is heavier, and there's constant coastal rain and things like that, so it keeps the grass sort of growing. And Cape Town or the Cape Province has a winter rainfall, so then they don't really play much in the winter time. So they spread everything out. Up in Joburg, they call it the high veld. It's a lot higher in altitude there. The winters, there's no rain in winter, so the grass dies, and then it becomes a 16-second green in wintertime. So it can go from a 11, 12 in summer to a 16 in winter. Up in Joburg, that area inland, but then the garden, the coastal area is a lot heavier, if you want to call it. It's a nice pace actually, but it can be heavier, inclined to be heavier. And I think the type of grass, they also, because of the coastal conditions, the greens on the coast are slightly different to the grass they use up north. So yeah.
That's interesting. That's quite a range. Usually you hear countries, they're slower, maybe up to 12, and then other ones are like 15 plus. But you guys seem to swing over across everything.
Yeah. It just depends on where in the country you are, So, I've just relocated to Mossel Bay. on the south coast, and I came up from Joburg, so it's been quite a difference, getting not used to, but just adapting to the conditions here, because you're going to play in a lot more coastal rain and that kind of thing, and wind. Up in Joburg, you get a breeze, here you get the coastal winds that can pump. So, yeah.
So how does, I guess, for you guys, how do you think your team from South Africa is going to adapt to bowling in the UK?
It probably is more suited for us, I would say, the speed than maybe an Aussie or New Zealand greens, where those greens got up to 16, 18, 20, so you've got to, and same with the indoor. We don't have indoor greens, so to adapt to an indoor green, it takes you a little bit longer, whereas similarly I think the British greens are like ours, a little bit of a mat, and where you have to push. There's no just gently stroking it away, so.
So the Commonwealth Games 2022 are starting later this month here. So I would assume you and Team South Africa are going probably fairly shortly, just like I believe Team Canada is in the next week or so. What sort of travel plans or pre-tournament training do you guys have planned for that?
Yeah, we're leaving on the 21st of July. So we'll be there, I think, about a week before the time. We're going via Turkey, just a stopover into Birmingham, and then we've done pre games camps, training camps, and things, and then just in general our play. We've been having to play a lot more than, well, not more than you used to, but taking part in different competitions just to keep the muscle memory going and competition wise,
I know that for us, travel is going to be tricky, and everything's surrounding COVID and whatnot. Are you finding the same kind of things in South Africa and with your travel?
Yeah, I haven't. This will be now. I went to Birmingham the last time, and then obviously back then we had to wear the masks. And although when we landed in, sorry, not Birmingham, Bristol, when we landed in Bristol, they weren't required to wear the masks anymore. So, back then, our South Africa only recently did away with the masks. So up until then, we've always had masks and sanitizing and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's quite weird actually not to wear a mask now.
So the recognition, so you were selected to be part of the World Bowls Challenge, where Australia hosted essentially them versus the world, and you were one of the members of Team World.
Yeah.
So you're the lone South African on the team. What did that selection mean to you?
I think it's just it's that recognition from your peers and from outside of your own country, where you get recognized to be part of a team like that. And it's not a huge number. There were only 5 of us, 5 ladies, 5 men, So, it was a few of us. So to be recognized in that and to be grouped in a group of people with achievements and records probably better than mine, and they've been playing like Joe Edwards and Alex Marshall. Their records speak for themselves, and that's why they call them the GOATs, So, so to be part of that is, I was very, very chuffed and very honored to be recognized like that.
So, what was it like playing with the people that typically you would be playing against internationally?
I actually enjoyed it so much more because you get to actually bond with them, play with them and be as a team rather than against each other. So, you get to know your opponents and you know what to expect from them. But when you're on the same side, it's even better, So, just the opportunity to play like that was amazing, especially with Joe Edwards. That was amazing.
So previously, you did touch about how you recently had gone to Bristol for the World Bowls Indoor Championship. What did
Yep.
you think of that event?
It was very, very interesting. I'd been to Warilla quite a few times to play in that, and then going up north was different. The Well, you never know what to expect in terms of the speed of the carpet because everybody says it's this and that and that, but once you get there, then you got to adapt. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was actually very nice to play mixed as well with the guys. Play a mixed pairs. It's normally you're all on your own. You've got to play your singles, and then that's it, And this at least gave you a chance to play as a team, with the guy as well. So, and I was very fortunate to play with Jason Evans, and yeah, we did pretty well considering. So yeah,
It was fun to see the names come out and some of the results come out. Based on the fact that it looked like the field was essentially worldwide, where most of the other indoor competitions or outdoor competitions are a smaller subsection of our, I guess, bowls community. Did you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
that this felt like more of a true world event?
Well, I think sometimes we get used to the opponents we normally play against, or we know what to expect from them. And whereas there we had such a variety of people. I mean, the young Hong Kong girl, she was amazing, and you never heard of her before, and yet, she was there and she just carried on doing her thing. So it's also a good measure to play against the regulars or the guys rather that play regularly on the carpet, and how you compare yourself to them, and how you can sort of manage it, because we don't have carpets yet. I think in Joburg there's 1-2 rink carpet that I used to go and practice at before Warilla. But once you get on the carpet, the real carpet, it's a different story, So, yeah, and I think being able to play against the variety of people like that, especially even the Scots, they know what they're doing on the carpet. So, and they all play with the bending bowls, and yeah, it's a learning curve as well. So,
Yeah, I guess that would have been a little different than your previous times down in Warilla, because I guess you really do with the Scottish players, and all the Northern Hemisphere people would probably be playing with slightly different bowls than you'd be getting on the Australian greens.
yes, yeah.
In general, with that format from the World Indoor Championships there, what did you think of that format of sort of the mixing of the singles and the mixed pairs? Or did you enjoy having them kind of mixed, or did you would have you preferred maybe playing all of your games and then switching to mixed pairs type of thing?
No, I think the more you roll on that surface, the better. So whether it's in your singles or your pairs, it's also fine. I think feedback from players, many players thought that the one end tiebreak was a little bit cutthroat in a way, because give you three ends a chance. Three ends can sort of divide you sort of maybe better, but yeah, the one end, and I was on both sides. I was a winner and a loser on the extra end tie break. So yeah, but anyway, I don't think they'll change it, but it's just something that they might think about in the future. So
It did seem pretty tight and hard to take for some players who played really well, and say it was like the mixed, where only one team went through, I believe.
yeah,
And some
yeah.
had pretty good records and played really well,
Yeah.
but they just weren't good enough to get through. That seemed pretty
Quite harsh.
harsh. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but otherwise, very well run tournament, and the Bristol people made such an effort. The locals, the members, nothing was too much for them to do and help us, and what they put forward as well. Everything was really, really very good.
So you've played in 2 previous Commonwealth Games, like we mentioned, and you've done quite well in both.
Yeah.
This will be your 3rd time going to Birmingham. What does playing in the Commonwealth Games mean to you?
It's actually my 5th Commonwealth Games.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. I've played in. I just didn't get medals then. I was a newbie, and I was leading the pairs, and yeah. So I played. My first one was Melbourne, 2006, and I was leading the pairs. And that's Melbourne and Delhi were actually where you played one discipline. Whereas
Right.
I only played pairs. Now the other three now that I'm going to play, you play 2 disciplines, which actually is quite nice because you at least you don't just go for one discipline. Play your 3 games and you're out kind of thing. So yeah, it's actually quite nice to be able to compete in 2 disciplines. Yeah.
So, like, when you go to the Commonwealth Games, I guess, representing your country and sort of being on that world stage, is that a pretty big deal in South Africa, or is it sort of just par for the course, I guess, going to a world event or something like that?
No, I actually I'm quite humbled by the amount of feedback I get from people, and just encouragement, and when we came back from Glasgow, I went to my local shop, and people I didn't even know would come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw you on TV. Oh, I'm coming. I'd love to come and try out bowls." So that exposure you get, you don't realize it until you actually come back, and then the people, they respond to you in a way that. There was a couple of people that also watched, and they didn't have a clue about bowls, but they watched, they saw it, they enjoyed it, and they've now joined, so, and that's good. The more exposure we get, the better, I think. Not just for us in our country, but, worldwide. I think people don't realize how enjoyable the game actually is.
So speaking on that, the changes that they're making to the Commonwealth Games, part of it obviously for marketing and for TV and spectators with the 2 colored bowls. What do you think of that change?
I was quite surprised in the beginning. I wasn't quite sure how it was. I mean, for me to have different color stickers is the norm. You play with different color stickers. So why make it more almost complicated and more expensive? Because I know from some of the African countries where they have to basically pay for their own way to go to Com Games, and that it becomes an expensive trip, So we're fortunate we've got SESCOC and those people that help with the funding and that. But but I think I've been watching the Malaysians practice at the venue, and now you're already seeing the red and blue and getting used to it, so it's probably is a good thing. Well, it is a good thing. Yeah.
So we often see South Africa in the mix for medals at all international events. What are the expectations for yourself and the rest of the team at the 22 games?
Look, for me, I think there's more expectation from everybody else. I've got medals now they want more, and bowls is a funny game. Today you can be a top bowler, tomorrow you get knocked out in the first round of the club singles, so there's no guarantees obviously in bowls, but I think generally your experience brings you through, the tough situations and that. And I think to be able to represent your country like that is an honor and a privilege, and obviously try your best. I try my best to as I say, bring back medals. A lot of factors as well, your draw, the weather conditions, there's a lot of factors that also come into it, and sometimes you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed as well, so then it also influences your play. But yeah,
I guess the draw was just released. Have you had a chance to look at it?
Very briefly. I think in the singles I'm in a section of 4. The other 2 sections, there's 5 and 5, and then our section C and D is only 4 in the section. And then the pairs, I can't really remember now, but I just had a quick glance at it. So yeah, because I think we play singles first, the ladies, and 4s, and then the pairs and trips we play second second half. Yeah. So yeah.
So, from all your time in bowls and all the competitions you've been in, what are your favorite memories of the sport?
There's quite a few. It's probably all the firsts, I think. The first time, I got my local colours to play for my district, and the first time I won international competition. I was the singles in air in the Atlantic Rim Championships in 2007, I think, or I can't even remember. And it was just like, there you are on the world stage, and I won. And the first thing I wanted to do was phone home. and like, I didn't have a cell phone with me or anything, so I borrowed somebody's just to phone home, just to let everybody back home know, because then there wasn't TV coverage or anything like that. So yeah, it's all the firsts, I think. But also, in general, just the people that you meet, and the connections you make with people around the world and locally. Those are pretty special as well, because every time you play in a tournament, there's a memory that's made. Whether it's good, whether you win or lose, you're still making memories all the time. So yeah, very, very privileged to be part of bowls in general. Because you can go anywhere in the world, even here in South Africa, you can go to the smallest little town and there's a bowls club. And there might be 5 members, but you come in there and you say, I'd like to play, and they say, come join. It's a real community, so it's very special.
So what does putting on the South African colors mean for you? You've done it a number of times, but is there anything special about doing it this time?
I think there's just an enormous amount of pride in your country. The fact that you're representing your country overseas, and it's just extreme pride in what you're doing. So yeah. And humbling as well, to be able to play and represent your country.
Okay, well, I didn't have any other questions, Daryl. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask Colleen?
I just have one more. Being a public figure for bowls in South Africa, and I know a number of people know you worldwide from your representation. For anybody wanting to pick up the sport, or not really sure if bowls is right for them, what kind of advice would you give to someone?
I would say try it. Don't listen to what other people say. Try it for yourself, because the whole stigma of old man's marbles and that is totally, out the window now. I mean, I remember I started teaching, and I was teaching at a school, and there was a whole young group of us that were teaching. And the one day somebody said, "Oh, you play bowls?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Come and try it," And they said, "Oh." And anyway, we arranged a Sunday afternoon. We went to the bowls, organized some bowls for them, and there was about 10 of us. And I said to them, "Come, let's try," and they were rolling, and it's wrong bias here and whatever. But we had so much fun, and they got a new look at it from actually doing it and playing, and trying it out. Because I think once you try it, and it becomes a bug that bites. Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's great advice. Just trying it, I think, is a key thing. If you can get people to try it, it sneaks up on a lot of people where they're like, "Hey, this is actually much better than I expected it to be."
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's like when you watch your curling. We sit here, we go, "Oh, I'd love to try that because it looks just like bowls on ice."
Exactly right.
Just not sure how my knees will hold with the curling, but yeah.
Mike, I'm good for questions. That was excellent.
Yeah, I think that's all I had too. So I would really like to thank you for joining us here, Colleen. It's been a pleasure, and I guess good luck, all the best in Birmingham.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Mike and Daryl. Appreciate your time, and for allowing me on your show.
Thank you.